Types of succession. There are two types of succession: primary succession, secondary succession. Primary succession. It is a biotic succession that occurs on a substratum like bare rock, lava sediments, sand dunes, new island exposed out of the sea, or a newly developed lake or pond, etc. Such a substratum is quite hostile to first life or prior community. Under such conditions, only a few simple and hardy organisms survive. The sequence of succession stages of a primary succession is called Pricer. Primary succession following glacial retreat. 1. Bare rock left after the retreat of glacier. 2. In time, mosses and lichens start to colonize the rock. As they die, organic matter is added to weathered rock particles, making simple soils. 3. As the soils develop, grasses and small herbaceous plants start to grow. 4. Deeper soils hold more water. 5. Eventually, trees establish, leading to the development of a climax community on mature soils. Secondary succession. Secondary succession. It is a biotic succession that occur in an area which have become bare due to destruction of previously existing biotic community by fire, drought, landslide, earthquake, etc., leaving a few organisms and considerable amount of organic matter. The remaining species, along with some new ones which invade in the area, regenerate a new community. The community undergoes several changes and ultimately gives rise to a climatic climax community. The sequence of succession stages of secondary succession is called subsere. Succession of plants. There are 7 stages in succession of plants. Plankton stage. The spores of planktons reach to a newly formed water body through wind or animals. The planktonic stage mainly includes minute autotrophic organisms such as green flagellates, diatoms, and cyanobacteria. These are called phytoplanktons. The population of phytoplanktons is balanced by zooplanktons that feed on the phytoplanktons. Death and decomposition of phytoplanktons mix with silt and form a soft mud at the bottom of pond, which favor the growth of next seral stage. Rooted submerged state. The soft mud mixed with organic matter favors the growth of submerged plants like Potamogeton, Hydrilla, Balisneria, Utricularia, Zenichelia, etc. They are rooted in the mud and fill the water. Accumulation of silt and sand around the plants make the water body shallower. Death and decay of submerged plants enrich the newly formed soil with humus. This makes the area less fit for the submerged plants and more suitable for the next seral stage. Floating stage. The area is invaded by the species of floating-leaved anchored plants like Nymphea, Nelumbo, etc. These plants make the water rich in mineral and organic matter. Some free-floating species like Azolla, Lemna, Wolfia, Pistia, Spirodella, Eichhornia, etc. also appear there. Rapid growth of floating stage further builds up the bottom and makes the water shallower on the periphery. Reed swamp stage. The amphibious plants like Typha, Phragmatis, Sagittaria, Scirpus, etc. replace the floating plants in the area. These plants produce abundant amount of organic matter and transpire huge amount of water. These plants build up shore by setting down sedimentary material and humus. The substratum now changes to a marshy soil. Marsh meadow stage. The marshy shore of the water body is invaded by carex, cyperus, juncus, etc. Some grasses like themeda, decanthium, and some herbs like caltha, campanula, polygonum, etc. also inhabit the area. The plants add more humus in the area. Woodland stage. At this stage, the area is invaded by some shrubby plants which can tolerate bright sunlight as well as water-logged conditions. For example, Cephalanthus. They cast shade and make the soil dry by rapid transpiration. Some trees capable of tolerating sunlight and water logging such as Populus, Alnus, etc. also invade the area. These plants further lower down the water table by their transpiration and build up more soil. Climax forest. The previous occupants disappear and give place to more shade-tolerant and mesophytic species. Thus, the area once under deep water becomes finally transformed into a forest. It should be remembered that the nature of the climax community will depend upon the climate. A forest community will develop only if the climate is moist. In dry climate, the climax community may be grassland or some other xeric community. Nutrient cycling. The continuous exchange of nutrients, elements among organisms and between organisms and their physical environment is called biogeochemical or nutrient cycle. Types of nutrient cycle. Gaseous, sedimentary. The source of gaseous nutrient cycle is present in atmosphere. Examples of gaseous nutrient cycle are carbon, nitrogen cycle, etc. The source of sedimentary nutrient cycle is present in crust of earth. Examples of sedimentary nutrient cycle are phosphorus, potassium cycle, etc. Ecosystem. Carbon cycle. All living things are made of carbon. Carbon is also a part of the ocean, air, and even rocks. In the atmosphere, carbon is attached to some oxygen in a gas called carbon dioxide. Plants use carbon dioxide and sunlight to make their own food and grow. The carbon becomes part of the plant. Plants that die and are buried may turn into fossil fuels made of carbon like coal and oil over millions of years. When humans burn fossil fuels, most of the carbon quickly enters the atmosphere as carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas and traps heat in the atmosphere. Without it and other greenhouse gases, Earth would be a frozen world. But humans have burned so much fuel that there is about 30% more carbon dioxide in the air today than there was about 150 years ago, and Earth is becoming a warmer place. Ecosystem. Phosphorus cycle. The phosphorus cycle is a sedimentary cycle. The atmosphere is not a reservoir for phosphorus, nor does microorganisms fix phosphorus as they do nitrogen. Phosphorus enters the biosphere almost entirely from the soil through absorption by plant roots. Weathering of rocks contain phosphate materials, chiefly apatite Ca5PO4 3OH, results in the relatively small pool of inorganic phosphorus available for organismal use. In most soils, the major amount of phosphorus absorbed by plants comes from organic molecules that undergo decomposition, releasing phosphorus in plant-available inorganic forms. The release of organically bound nutrients to plant-available forms is termed mineralization. Phosphorus is used by organisms in energy transfers as a component of nucleic acids and as a structural element of membranes. Ecosystem services. Ecosystem provides following services: maintenance of gaseous composition of the atmosphere, climate control by forests and oceanic systems, natural pest control, formation and protection of soil, conservation and purification of water, nutrient cycling, etc. Did you know? In 1935, Arthur Transley, the British ecologist, coined the term ecosystem. With a few supplies and a sunny corner, it is possible to grow tropical fruit plants indoors. Across the globe, deforestation is a major contributor to climate change. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. An ecosystem consists of all the biotic and abiotic factors in an area and their interactions. The rate of production of biomass is called productivity. A certain amount of organic material is used to sustain the life of producers, and the remaining amount is net primary productivity. NPP is equal to GPP minus energy lost in respiration. Decomposition is the process in which the complex organic matter is broken down into simpler organic substances and ultimately into inorganic compounds. Herbivores feed directly on plants. Carnivores are animals which feed or prey upon other animals. An animal which is able to consume both plants and animals are called omnivores, for example, human being. The transfer of food energy from the source in plants through a series of organisms with repeated eating and being eaten is referred to as a food chain. The interconnection of food chains in an ecological community is called food web. Organisms occupy a place according to their feeding relationships in the food chain, and that place is called as their trophic level. Trophic structure may be shown graphically as ecological pyramids. The progressive replacement of one dominant type of species or community by another in an ecosystem until a stable climax community is established is called ecological succession. There are 7 stages in succession of plants: plankton stage, rooted submerged stage, floating stage, reed swamp stage, marsh meadow stage, woodland stage, climax forest. In carbon cycle, the reservoir pool is atmosphere or hydrosphere. In phosphorus cycle, the reservoir pool is lithosphere.